2. There are some things you forget about childhood. The smell of rain on hot asphalt, the specific shade of blue of your first bicycle, the texture of the carpet in your old bedroom. Or there are other things you try to forget, that refuse to be buried. For me, it's a book. A thin, worn-out children's book I found last night, tucked away in a cardboard box marked 1995. 2. I don't remember ever seeing it before, which is strange. I was a voracious reader. The cover was a faded pastel yellow, with no title, no author. Just a simple drawing of a child's swing set under a large oak tree. The spine was cracked, the pages soft and delicate from what must have been countless readings. I sat on the floor of the attic, the single bare bulb casting long, dancing shadows, and opened it. Their illustrations were simple, almost childlike. Soft watercolors depicting familiar scenes. A little boy with messy brown hair, just like mine was, learning to ride a bike, his knees scuffed. Another page showed him building a pillow fort in a living room that looked eerily like my own, right down to the floral pattern on the armchair. It was charming, nostalgic, won't spread through me. A pleasant take for a time long gone. I turned the page. The boy was older now, a teenager, sitting on a park bench under that same oak tree. A girl with blonde hair was laughing beside him. My heart skipped a beat. It looked just like Sarah, my high school girlfriend. The drawing even captured the small gap between her front teeth, a chill, cold and sharp, cut through the attic's warmth. This was just a coincidence, right? A strange, uncanny coincidence. My hand trembled slightly as I turned another page. The boy, now a young man, was standing in a graduation gown. The university crest on his stole was unmistakable. My alma mater. The next page showed him in a small, cluttered apartment. Hunched over a laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating his face. That was my first apartment after college. The poster on the wall. It was the same one I had, a vintage print of a sci-fi movie. My breathing grew shallow. This wasn't a coincidence. This book, this impossible book, was telling the story of my life. I flipped through the pages faster now, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. There was the first car I bought, a dented blue sedan. There was the day I adopted my dog, a golden retriever with a goofy grin. A perfect replica of Buddy Veach. Page was a snapshot, a memory stolen from my mind and painted in faded watercolors. I got to the last few pages. They depicted scenes from my present. Me, in this very house. One illustration showed me in the garden, planting roses, my back aching. I did that last weekend. The detail was sickening. The specific brand of my gardening gloves, the small chip in the terracotta pot. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The book knew. It knew everything. I threw it across the attic. It hit a stack of boxes with a soft thud and fell to the floor, landing face down. I scrambled to my feet, my heart hammering against my ribs, and backed away. One had to get out of there. I stumbled down the attic ladder, not even bothering to pull it shut behind me. Downstairs, I paced the living room, trying to rationalize. It was a prank. Someone was playing a sick, elaborate joke on me. That Hiku. And how? How could they know all these details, these intimate moments from my entire life? Therein. Started then, a gentle tapping against the window panes. The sound usually calmed me, but tonight, it felt menacing, like skeletal fingers drumming a slow rhythm. I couldn't shake the image of the book from my mind. I had to get rid of it. I couldn't have it in my house. After an hour of agonizing, I crept back up to the attic, armed with a garbage bag. The air was colder now, heavy. The single bulb flickered. But the book, it wasn't where I'd thrown it. My eyes darted around the cluttered space. And then I saw it. It was back on the small wooden crate I'd been sitting on, closed, as if waiting for me. My blood ran cold. I hadn't put it there. I was sure of it. I had watched it fall. It was impossible, but there it was. Against every rational thought in my head, I picked it up. Its worn cover felt strangely warm to the touch. I opened it again, my hands shaking so much I could barely turn the pages. I went straight to the end. I had to know. The last page I'd seen was me in the garden. There was only one page left. Before, it had been blank. I remembered that clearly. Always had felt a brief, fleeting moment of relief, seeing that blank page. But it wasn't blank anymore. As I stared, horrified, faint gray lines began to appear on the paper, like a photograph developing in slow motion. Ink was bleeding into the page, coalescing, forming a picture. My heart stopped. The illustration was of an attic. This attic. The single bare bulb, the cardboard boxes, the dusty floorboards. In the center of the drawing, a man was sitting on the floor. His face was in shadow, but I knew it was me. He was holding a book. This book, and on his lap, leaning against him, was a child. A small, featureless silhouette, its head tilted up as if listening intently. The man, me, was reading to the child. A shiver racked my entire body. I understood. The title, I'd imagined, the children's book that knew how I'd die, was wrong. It was so much worse. This book doesn't show your death, it shows your purpose. The book doesn't end. The story is passed on. The reader becomes the storyteller. I looked at the drawing, at the shadowy figure of myself, and the faceless child. The rain tapped louder on the window, floorboard creaked somewhere downstairs. I was no longer alone in the house. I felt a sudden, profound cold, a presence in the room with me. I didn't dare look up from the page. I could feel a small weight settling beside me, a pressure against my leg. The book in my hands slowly, gently, began to close on its own. Then died, plunging the attic into absolute, suffocating darkness. And in the silence, I heard the whisper of a child's voice, right beside my ear. Read it again.